Hi everyone, this is Sister Shelley. For this week's Bible study, we're going to be in the book of Matthew again. Last week we talked about the parable of the unforgiving servant. And the main idea from that was simply this. If we expect our Father in heaven to forgive us for the sins that we commit every single day, then we have to be willing to forgive others for the sins that they commit against us every single day. We have to have a willingness in our heart to forgive them rather than to hold grudges and think of the ways that we can use those things against people later. So we're called to be graceful. We're called to be merciful. We're called to have a softness in our heart for the people that hurt us, for the people that offend us. We're called to be soft. Respond gently. Respond in a way that isn't retaliation. So today we're going to be looking at what does Jesus say about how we respond to personal injustice. So we're going to be in Matthew 5, verses 38 through 42. And I'm going to read those to you. It says, "You have heard that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I tell you not to resist an evil person. But whoever slaps you on your right cheek, turn your other to him also. If anyone wants to sue you and take away your tunic, let him have your cloak also. And whoever compels you to go 1 mile, go with him 2. Give to him who asks you, and from him who wants to borrow from you, do not turn away." So the very first line of this is so familiar to so many of us. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. And how often is this our initial reaction when we're hurt by somebody? You did this to me and I'm going to do the same thing to you. Or, hey, I might even go above and beyond and do one worse to you so that you can see how badly you have hurt me. I want you to feel how you made me feel. And I think that's a natural response to when we're feeling hurt. Like a lot of times when we're angry, there is a root feeling underneath of hurt or disappointment or sadness. So it is our nature to react and be like, well, I'm gonna do the same thing to you then. I want you to feel like I feel. I want you to sit here and be upset. I want you to walk around feeling like this. But that is not what Jesus is calling us to do. So this is a call out to the Pharisees, where in Leviticus 24:20 it was said that basically you could do an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, and that would be just fine because you were abiding to the law. So here Jesus is telling us that no, actually, the law isn't a high enough standard for my Father in heaven. It's not a high enough standard of reaction to what is being done with you. So you're being asked to stand above what's being done to you, to allow it to happen without retaliation, without thinking of how you can hurt that person and how you can make them suffer, so to speak. You're being called to be gentle, which I always think is kind of an interesting thing to say to somebody. Like, I want you to be gentle. And some of the most powerful things that I've ever seen done in my life were the way somebody didn't respond or responded gently when they really didn't have to, when the other person deserved a harsh response or a harsh reply or whatever. But you watch somebody who has the ability to hurt somebody back choose not to. And there is just so much power in that, so much restraint. It really does show the character of a person when they choose not to respond, not to retaliate against somebody. Like, that is strength of character. So we're being told that even though that's what the law said, that is not considered kingdom character. That is not considered the way that Jesus would want you to respond, or that his Father would want you to respond. You're expected to be able to go above and beyond. So this is called go the second mile. And then it says, but whoever slaps you on your right cheek, turn your left to them also, your other cheek. That's almost ridiculous. Like, it almost sounds ridiculous to say, hey, if somebody slaps you one time, make sure you, like, turn your face so that they can get the other side too. Give them that opportunity. Almost hard to wrap your head around at all. The entire idea that is what someone would want you to do. So to slap somebody at this point in time throughout history would have been considered such a deep insult. Like, it was basically to call somebody completely inferior to you. Like, you're insulting them pretty deeply. And Jesus is telling you that you don't even need to worry about it. Like, go ahead and make sure you give them your other side of your face so that they can slap that one too. Because at the end of the day, none of that's going to matter. What actually matters is how you respond to people. How you conduct yourself says a lot about your character and who you are. So each time we choose to respond to somebody gracefully, it says more about us and our character than it could ever say about them. So we have to be thinking about that when we're responding to people and when we're responding to situations. It says, if anyone wants to sue you and take your tunic, let him have your cloak also. So I've read this a number of times, but when you really have the background information to go along with it, it kind of changes the meaning for you. So everybody would have had multiple tunics. So just like we have multiple outfits that we wear all the time. So at that point in time, if you were taken to court, you very well could have been sued for the clothes that were on your back. That was how they did things. So we have to think for a minute. Okay, so yeah, give them your tunic. That's fine. You have other tunics at home that you can wear. So what? Here you go. Take it. Okay, so here's Jesus saying, not only do I want you to give them your tunic, give them your cloak also. So you have to understand that the cloak, if someone borrowed somebody's cloak, which would have been kind of like a coat to us, you had to return it by nightfall. It was absolutely mandatory that you brought it back to them before nightfall, because that may well have been the only way that they had to stay warm. So they're going to need that in order to stay warm. But here's Jesus saying, no, go above and beyond. Don't just give them for the thing they asked for. Go one step further. Go above and beyond. Don't just meet the need, exceed the expectation. Go that extra step. You should be willing to go the extra step. And you know, it's really important to mention that as you make these changes in your life, and as you decide to go that extra step, you have to feel good about it in your heart. You have to have a heart that is softened and ready to make those changes in your life. Because let's say that you go the extra step, go the extra mile, but you're mad about it. You might as well not do it at all, because if you don't have the right heart motive, it's worthless. It's not worth anything. So we have to make sure that when we're going above and beyond, that we have our heart in it, that we're willing to do these things without feeling like it's an obligation, without feeling like we have been inconvenienced, without feeling like we've been put out, so to speak. So we have to always have the right heart motive, because it is easy to do things. Like, I'm a doer. I can do a list, go down through it and check the boxes. Like, there's a fulfillment in that for me. Like, I like to be able to say I completed a list. But did you complete it with the right heart? Did you do those things in a way that would glorify God? Can you go back down through the things that you checked off of your list, and the way that you did it and completed it, would it glorify God? So the next thing it says, and whoever compels you to go with him 1 mile, go with him 2. So again, we have to have some idea of what history is here. So the Roman soldiers they had the legal rights to make a civilian carry their luggage up to 1 mile. And it would have been like slightly less than what we consider a mile today. First of all, can you imagine carrying your luggage for a mile? You know, we are certainly spoiled by modern times. We barely like to get our luggage out of a car and onto the cart that they have at hotels to get your luggage to your room. Like, we barely like to walk from the car to the front of the hotel. And you're telling me that Roman soldiers were able to ask you to just carry their luggage for a mile? I can't imagine that I would want to carry their luggage for 500 feet, let alone a mile. And here's Jesus's instruction to us. Don't only go 1 mile, go for the other. Go for 2. Go above and beyond. Again, don't just meet the need, exceed the expectation. So we're not called to just do as little as we can to meet the need. We're not called to just barely get to something by, like, right here before we drown. We're called to legitimately go 1 step further. Like, make an effort. And don't just make an effort. Like, I want you to put your whole heart in it. Like, all the effort that you got. I want you to give it your best. Not second best. Like, all of it. You need to try. So we're being asked to go above and beyond. And, you know, sometimes it's helpful for me to think to myself, you know, I'm not doing all this for this person specifically, but I'm going to do this for the glory of God. I'm going to do this because I expect for my Father in heaven to always be there for me, to always listen to whatever I have to say to him, whenever I have it to say to him. Like, I expect him to be always available to me. So sometimes it's easier for me to just say, you know what, I'm not going to do that for this person, but I'm going to do this to glorify my Father in heaven. I'm going to do it for him. And sometimes that'll help me to be able to do that thing for somebody else without feeling like I'm being inconvenienced, without feeling like it is somehow imposing upon my time. So the last line says, give to him who asks you, and from him who wants to borrow from you, do not turn away. So everything that we have while we're here on earth really isn't ours. It's really not our time. Like, my time isn't my time. So my money isn't really my money. My things really aren't my things. Like, they're all the Lord's things, every one of them. So my time, my money, my possessions, all of it, my children, all of it has all been loaned to me for my time on earth. So we have to think about, are we willing to give money to that person that has asked multiple times? And you know what, maybe they're not very reliable. Maybe they ask, then they need it again, and you're like, I don't know if I feel like giving it to you. Are you going to give it back? Sometimes we're called to just do the best that we can with the knowledge that we have. So if I give somebody money that they say that they desperately need, I have done my part. I've done my part. I can't be responsible for what they do with that money, and if they use it for the need that they said that they had, that's not my problem. It's not my problem. So whatever they do, whatever they choose to do with my kindness, it's not my problem. I've done my part, as long as I do it with the right heart. So I should give them that money, and I shouldn't worry about it again. I did my part. I did my part to be kind, to be loving, and to meet the need that they said that they had. So I shouldn't be going, well, I saw them at the store at Walmart in the toy section buying this item right after they asked me for money. I shouldn't be making lists. I shouldn't be making comparisons, because just like you don't know my story, I don't know your story. So there's always bits and pieces of our stories that we don't know. We don't have all the pieces to make sense of each other's lives. It's very easy to walk around and have an opinion about the people around us and have these ideas of, well, this person could do this better, she could do that better, he could do that better, and I'm doing such a great job over here. It's easy to feel that way, but our opinions are all relative. We could be making these judgments and having these opinions with no real factual basis. Like, who's to say that I know anything about somebody else, or that they know anything about me? Truthfully, like, people only know us to the degree that we make ourselves vulnerable, to the degree that we let them in. So we have to be careful of judging the people around us without having any factual information. So we have a framework here that really tells us that our response to personal injustice should be one of gentleness. We should be ready to not just meet the need, but go above and beyond to exceed the need. We should be ready to exceed the expectation, go above and beyond. So we need to get our hearts ready to feel that way. And you know, so many times in our lives when we think about the people that have hurt us, the people that have, you know, caused us to feel injustice, we tend to have this idea that we can't trust them again, or we can't, you know, be around them again. So, and yet, we expect our Father in heaven to not only trust us again, to love us unconditionally, unlike anyone else could ever love us. We expect him to forgive us every day, and sometimes of the same sins over and over again, while we are working through trying to stop doing them. Like some sins, they're a little harder to quit than others, but he's graceful. He's like, you know what? I see that you're working on that. I see that you're making an effort there. No, you didn't succeed yet, but if you continue along this path, you're going to. So we have to have that view of others too. Like, how can we encourage the people around us to meet their full potential, or to rise up from whatever they did to us? How can we encourage people to have that grace and that ability to maybe be a part of our lives again, once they have done something to hurt us or to offend us? I mean, we expect our Father to forgive us endlessly. So we need to be able to do the same for others. We should be able to forgive someone, not once, not twice, but multiple times, especially if they come to us with the right heart. We should be ready to give them that mercy and that grace that we're met with every single day.